I'll never forget the Saturday morning when my quiet street turned into something that looked more like a live courtroom than a neighborhood. You know those kinds of mornings where folks are mowing their lawns, kids are wobbling down the cul-de-sac on bikes, and the air feels calm enough that you're thinking about nothing more serious than getting the trash to the curb. That's exactly where my head was at, just a man in his 40s. Coffee barely hitting my system, carrying a bag of garbage down the driveway. 10 steps out of my door, and there they were, waiting like vultures. 3 figures. 2 men in tactical vests that didn't quite fit right. One too loose, the Velcro straps hanging off the other like he'd pulled it from a thrift store bin. Boots scuffed mirrored sunglasses trying too hard to scream authority. And between them, arms crossed like a queen in a bad play, stood our HOA president, Patricia Collins. She wasn't smiling. She never does when she thinks she has power over someone. "Mr. Walker," she said sharp, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror, "we need to talk." I set the trash down, kept my voice even. "Talk about what?" The tall one with the shaved head stepped forward, boots scraping against my concrete like he was marking territory. "Community enforcement," he announced flatly, like he expected me to salute. "You're in violation of neighborhood regulations. We're here to detain you until police arrive." I almost laughed. Detain me? On my own driveway? Patricia folded her arms tighter, her face twisting with that look she always gave me at board meetings when I dared to ask questions. "You've ignored repeated notices, Robert. This has gone too far. These men are here to make sure you comply." I took one long look at the vests, the knockoff patches stitched across their chests, the way they stood too stiff like kids caught playing soldier, and every alarm bell in my head went off. There was no authority in front of me, just theater. Bad theater. "What exactly are the charges?" I asked. The shorter one, beard scruffy, like he'd been sleeping in his car, pulled a folded paper from his vest. "Property violations, non-compliance, unauthorized driveway modifications, loud gatherings, the list goes on." I couldn't help it. I smirked. "And that gives you the right to—" What was it? "Detain me." The tall one's jaw tightened. "That's right. You can come peacefully, or we'll make it harder." By then I could feel eyes behind blinds, curtains twitching, phones lifting. The neighborhood was listening. So I took a step closer, calm but sharp. "Let me explain something to you. There is no such thing as community enforcement. You're not law enforcement. You don't have any authority here. You're trespassing." Patricia's cheeks flared red. "Don't lecture me about authority, Robert. We've had complaints, real complaints. I'm not going to let this neighborhood fall apart." And then, maybe without meaning to, she spit out the words, "people like you." She cut herself off, but it hung there ugly, raw. And I caught it. Everyone watching caught it too. I tilted my head. "Careful how you finish that thought, Patricia." The bearded guy shuffled his feet clearly, second-guessing his life choices. But the tall one doubled down, hand hovering near his belt, like he wanted me to think he was armed. "You're being non-compliant," he snapped. "That means we can escalate." I couldn't help the laugh that slipped out. "Escalate? You're standing on my property in garage sale vests with fake patches threatening me in front of half the block. You've got 30 seconds to back off before you regret this stunt." Patricia barked, her voice shrill. "Don't test me, Robert. These men can hold you until police arrive, and when they do, you'll be the one answering questions." I let the trash bag drop to the ground, the can inside clattering across the concrete like a gavel slamming. That sound echoed down the street, sharp enough to pull more neighbors to their windows. And then, just to show you how fast things spiraled, Marcus, the kid from across the street, lifted his phone high and shouted, "Yo, I got you live, Mr. Walker." That's when the tall one panicked. He spun, pointed at Marcus, barked, put that down, and took a step toward him. I moved without thinking, my body cut right between him and that kid. My voice dropped cold. You even think about touching that boy and this ends right here. The man froze just long enough for the whole neighborhood to see he was bluffing. Patricia tried to roar over the tension. This is a neighborhood matter. None of you should be interfering. But from a porch, someone yelled back, neighborhood matter? Looks like harassment to me. Another voice joined, you can't arrest your neighbor for cutting grass too short. The illusion cracked. What was supposed to intimidate me was turning into a trial, Patricia and her fake cops on one side, the whole neighborhood on the other. The shorter guy muttered, maybe we should wait in the street, but the tall one snarled back, we're not leaving. He yanked handcuffs from his vest, metal clanking like a cheap prop in a bad movie. You're under neighborhood arrest. Phones zoomed in. Gasps rolled down the block. I locked eyes with him. You take one more step with those cuffs, and you've committed a felony impersonating an officer, unlawful restraint. That's prison time, not community service. The beard whispered frantically, Eddie, this is crazy. We'll get locked up ourselves. Patricia screamed over him. Desperate now. Do it! Put him in cuffs. Show the neighborhood who's in charge. Her words backfired. Gasps, shouts. She's lost her mind. You don't have that right, Patricia. I leaned closer to Eddie, my voice quiet but sharp as glass. I've put real men in real cuffs. I know when someone's bluffing. Drop them now before this turns into something you'll never walk away from. His hand shook pride at war with fear. And in that moment of hesitation, I saw my opening. Eddie lunged anyway, swinging the cuffs toward me, trying to force the illusion back to life. I sidestepped, seized his arm, twisted it behind his back, and before he knew it, those same cuffs snapped onto his own wrists. 3 seconds, maybe less. The crowd roared in disbelief. Patricia shrieked, "You can't arrest him." I looked at her, calm as stone. You're right. I can't. But I can detain him for impersonating an officer until the real ones arrive. And considering he just tried to assault me on my own property, the charges keep stacking. That's when I pulled out my leather wallet, flipped it open, and let the gold badge catch the sunlight. Special Agent Robert Walker, FBI. Silence. Neighbors stared. Phones zoomed tighter. Marcus shouted, "No way, he's FBI." Patricia's face went white. She stammered, This is abuse of power. You can't just abuse of power." I cut her off. That's rich coming from the woman who staged a fake arrest over driveway cracks. What you did is criminal. By the time real sirens hit the block, Eddie was kneeling, cuffed in my driveway. Sean, the bearded one, had ripped off his vest, muttering. He wanted no part of this, and Patricia was pacing like a caged animal trying to salvage the scraps of her authority. The officers stepped out tense at first. I raised one hand ID in the other. Officer Special Agent Walker, FBI. Badge is in my pocket. The man in custody impersonated law enforcement and assaulted me on my property. They checked my credentials, and just like that, the balance shifted. Eddie was hauled into the back of a squad car, Sean separated for questioning. Patricia screamed, "No, he's twisting everything. I'm the HOA president." The younger officer stared her down. "Ma'am, your title doesn't place you above the law. Did you authorize these men to impersonate officers?" Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Neighbors shouted, "We saw her. She brought them here." And that was it. Patricia was guided toward the car, her neighbor's eyes burning holes into her. Authority stripped, exposed, humiliated. The following days were chaos videos spreading on Facebook, next-door local news. Headlines, HOA president detained. After confrontation with FBI agent neighbor, Eddie's mugshot splashed across every site his petty crimes dragged into the light. Sean cooperated, spilling every detail of how Patricia promised them authority and pay if they'd enforce order on her behalf. By the week's end, the board held an emergency meeting. Patricia was removed unanimously. Her chair sat empty, a ghost of arrogance. When neighbors gathered in the park, they asked me to speak. I kept it simple. Last week, we all saw what happens when power is faked, when fear is used instead of respect. That could have ended much worse. The lesson isn't about me. It's about the kind of neighborhood we want to live in. Fear only works when we stay silent. But when you stand your ground, when you speak truth, intimidation loses its grip. Folks nodded. Parents squeezed their kids' shoulders a little tighter. Marcus grinned at me like I just handed him a new lens on the world. And me, I didn't feel like a hero. Just a man who refused to be bullied on his own driveway. So here's my question to you watching this right now, in your own community, in your own life. Are you letting fear dictate how you live? Or are you willing to stand up, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy, and speak the truth? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Tell me what you think justice looks like in a neighborhood like this. Would you have done the same or walked away? Let's talk about it.